Well, good morning. A very warm welcome here to Heusden-Zolder as we look across a very, very busy area as many more fans come in here this morning to get ready for two big races, the under-23 men's race and then the men's elite race, which will finish off this weekend of racing. All the fans are out to enjoy the atmosphere and to cheer these riders on. The first race of the day will be the men's under-23 race, in which we have 55 riders from 21 nations taking to the start. Yesterday we had a great day of racing, and there's the British flag right on cue because Evie Richards was one of the gold medalists yesterday. We saw Talita de Jong take a fantastic women's elite race yesterday evening to finish off a great day for the Netherlands. Here's the course, 3.2 kilometers in length. As we take a look at it, twists and turns. It's a course of two halves. The first half very fast, the second half very tough indeed. And we have seen so far, apart from the women's elite race, the first two races, riders riding away to win on their own, and then the women's elite race was a real tussle between a group of riders. We're taking a look around the course here, and it's probably a good moment to bring in alongside me Simon Burney. Simon's had a chance to look at the course to see how it has changed overnight. Morning, Simon. Here's the course.
Morning, Anthony. Yeah, they did a little bit of work on it overnight. They've taken away some of the real deep ruts that were flipping riders off at the bottom of the steep drops yesterday. The weather's dried up overnight. The course has drained really well. Some of the muddy sections from yesterday are still there. They're muddy. There's still a few big ruts that are able to catch people out, and the problem is out of the rut, it's still quite deep mud. So, but generally, it's going to be faster than yesterday. The weather's just started to rain again now. The forecast not for as heavy as yesterday, so that's one relief. I don't think it's going to change significantly between these two races from what we saw yesterday.
So we're taking a look here at the run into the finish line as we glance across the course. Simon always goes out and walks part of the course just before the race, so you're getting the insight as to exactly how this course is going to run. It will change a little bit before the men's race because the rain is falling now outside our commentary box window. As you can see, the rain is falling 4 degrees centigrade now. The wind has dropped to 20 kilometers an hour. It's a lot colder here in Heusden-Zolder today. It's noticeably colder than it was yesterday, although we had to deal with the wet weather. But I'm sure we're going to have a warm atmosphere for all these riders as we get things underway. There's Wout van Aert's banners. There's going to be loads of them around the course, I'm sure, for him today, the rider who's won the World Cup this season. I'm sure he's got many fans who want to see him win this title this afternoon. But of course we'll concentrate on the under-23 race first, and another strong team of Belgians with Elie Iserbyt will be one of the pre-race favourites. He's had a fantastic season. And here's the start list. Big Belgian squad. The Dutch team with Jori Nieuwenhuis, who has also been on form this season. So we'll take a look through who is going to take to the start. Simon, any favourites for you as we look through the start list?
I think number 2 and 3 on there, Elie Iserbyt and Quinten Hermans, are the two big favourites. My outside tip is Simon Andreasen, junior world champion last year, first year under 23. He's only done a small cross season this year, but he's in good shape.
Well, as we take a look through the start list here, there's the American squad. Perhaps their strongest rider in there would be Logan Owen. One sole British rider in Nicholas Barnes taken to the start. Bertolini of Italy, another strong rider who's had a win so far in the World Cup this season. And another Japanese rider taken to the start of this race, Toki Sawada, wearing number 48. There's the Swedish squad and the Slovakians. There's Simon's outside tip, Simon Andreasen. Watch out for him, wearing number 49. And we should mention the Australians, Chris Aitken and Nicholas Smith, Nicholas Smith's been riding over here during the season, and he is now joined by his teammate Chris Aitken. Nicholas sent me a message about a week ago. He's looking forward to the this World Championship to end the season that he's been taking part in, but the Australians with a much stronger squad than they've ever had in these cyclocross world titles. David Montgomery of Ireland also taken to the start. So we're about to go to the start line. Before we do, I think it would be a bit amiss of us not to mention what happened overnight, because let's just get that out of the way now. Of course, yesterday in the under-23 women's race, a bit of history for good and bad reasons. We have just been to a press conference with the president of the UCI as we look at our world champions previously here for under-23 riders. But of course, overnight, the news that a bike was found in the pits yesterday. The bike was of Femke van Driesche of Belgium, had a motor in it. That has been confirmed by the president of the UCI, Brian Cookson, today. His very firm message to teams and riders is that if you're going to try to cheat, we will catch you, and we caught a rider yesterday. We're not going to dwell on it too much. We've had loads of messages on Twitter overnight. It is a legal case now, so there's not an awful lot that anyone can say. Other than that, it is confirmed. It's a pretty shameful thing to do. Simon, anything to add to that before we get started?
No, nothing at all. I think you've said it all, Anthony. You know, it's just, I'm pretty convinced that a 19-year-old young woman racer isn't going to have decided on her own to put an engine in a bike. So a few people should be pretty ashamed of themselves, I think.
Totally agree with you. And as Brian Cookson said this morning, that there are the sanctions in place to both address the rider and the teams in plural. And we'll just close that off as we go to the start. So all of you on Twitter, let's enjoy the racing. Those of you watching, let's enjoy the racing, and the legal situation will carry on behind the scenes. We're on the start line then, 10:58 coming up. We're 2 minutes from the start of this race. 55 riders, 21 nations. Stay with us because this is going to be a fantastic race, I am sure. Under-23 racing is always fast and furious, and it is always full of something to talk about as the riders get ready. Simon, last year we had a great race. Today, I think we've got a fantastic field. We've got the likes of Isabit, who desperately wants to win this one, he won the World Cup, he won Namur, he won Linear, he won Coxsider, he was second in Valkenburg. But there's some riders here, for instance, this Frenchman, Clement Rousseau, who Jerome Pino's just told us to watch out for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the usual suspects, I think. Once they move into under-23, the Belgians and the Dutch especially are very strong. You know, they're both going to end up being established elite riders. When we saw the list of previous winners, all of those have moved on to amazing elite careers or even road careers. You know, the Lars Booms and the Steve Ars and these guys, they've all started out as cross riders. So there's a career ahead for whoever gets on the podium today, without a doubt. There's
Quinten Hermans focusing, won in Olgaheide, was second in Linear, second in the World Cup. There's Bertolini. We could see him do something today. Tyre choices then for today's race?
Well, Bertolini there, challenged Lemus on the front. Can't see his back, but I'd be surprised if he's got something similar on the back. Maybe a smaller version of that one. Yeah, it's still relatively slippery. I think mud tyre on the front, fast tyre on the back is probably the way forward.
Here's number 30. This is Logan Owen, who could be the big favourite of the Americans today. Third in their national elite championships this year. So the riders on the start line, it's noticeable how big the crowd is here today. This is World Championship, Cyclo-cross, Belgium on a Sunday. It doesn't get much bigger than this. Here we go then, we're underway. And a furious sprint off the line, and right in the front is the American rider who is going full gas from the start line, and that is Curtis White, who goes off the start line very, very fast. Now we've got this fast left, and White has started really quickly.
Yeah, I was just watching Andreasen there. He was on the left-hand side, our right as we look at it. He's probably moved up 10 or 15 places there. He started on the third row. but it's American leading a Belgian chase there. Belgium, 5 riders in the top 8, and another tangle, and that is Yannick Peters.
Whoa.
Yeah, Peters and Van der Heijden tangled up on that corner.
Well, Curtis White going out very, very quickly, isn't he? He's a strong rider. He looks very focused this morning in terms of getting here and getting ready. You really need to be fired up, ready for this race start, don't you? One rider going into the pits already, and that is
Van der Heijden that crashed on that first corner. Yeah,
let's take a look. Tangle. Here we are, Simon. Here's the replay.
Yeah, it was the Swiss rider. Just looked like he went bomb straight into the back of Van der Heijden there.
Onto the bridge then, and those of you who've not watched so far this cyclo-cross, this circuit goes across the Circuit-Zolder, the former Formula 1 Grand Prix motor race circuit. So we've got the bridges up and down.
Dutch rider just crashed there off the exit of the bridge. Let's see who it was.
Maybe there'll be, if there's a camera down there, I'm sure our team will find it. As we'll see who is in the moves. It's noticeably a lot drier out here right now than it was yesterday. This course has got a lot of sand underneath it, so it does drain pretty well. And as Simon mentioned at the start, they've done a lot of work overnight to make sure they look after it. Down on the bottom of the screen then, you get the top 8 riders. Had a few tweets about whether you can see more than the top 8 riders. This is a new addition to the graphics for this year. It doesn't develop so it scrolls along the screen, but you'll always get the top 8, who's moving up, who's moving down, and where the number of seconds are. But it's Dan Sort who is up towards the front. But still this American rider in the moves, and Logan Owen also up towards the front as well.
Yeah, we mentioned it yesterday. The Americans have done a really good job getting their riders on the front 2 rows at the start. They've been over here. They got their cross camp with Jeff Proctor over the Christmas-New Year period. They're getting the UCI points in the early season in the US, and then coming over to Europe and getting the experience and doing the big races. And yeah, these 4 under-23s from the US have got a lot of talent, and it's like we saw yesterday. They've got the opportunity starting on the front row. They've just got to maximise it now. And right now, it's looking like White isn't able to go with the Belgians, which is
Quinten Hermans at the front.
Yeah, Hermans and Soter.
Yeah, they're certainly shifting, aren't they, as they open up the advantage on the rest of the field. Number 36 there is Bertolini, who was the winner in Valkenburg. As we go round past this camera very, very quickly indeed, throwing up the muck. But the Belgians now are making a move, and all 3 of them at the front of the race. The Frenchman is trying to come across to them, but they are the strongest team in this race in comparison to any of the other nations. So the 3 riders then at the front, now moving across is Clement Rousseau, 3rd in Valkenburg, 3rd in Urgeheide. He was 6th in the World Cup, and he's now going to make the junction across to these Belgians. Another Belgian rider making his way across to the front as well.
That's Thijs Aerts that's going across, and Isabit right now is stuck in that group with Andreasen between about 5th and 10th, with 4 Belgians in front of him.
It's not a good start for him, is it, Isabit? He normally... He does work his way through the field, and when he gets to the front, very few people can stay with him. But right now, he's not where he wants to be. So it's...
yeah, just missed the start a little bit there.
Yeah, 4 riders from Belgium, 1 rider from France. The Italian is trying to work his way across. The Spanish rider is also up near the front. That's Felipe Orts. Things are settling down a little bit after that initial push by these riders. So Simon, yesterday when we were watching the line of this this climb, a few riders were starting to struggle in the women's race because it was so wet. But let's just remind ourselves, the line on this this little climb we've just seen, the best line for the riders to take.
It's the higher line on the top right, but yesterday it was the approach to it was too slow, and it was too slippery to get up on that right-hand line. it's a higher line. The lower line actually drops down as well halfway along it, which means the climb back out onto this tarmac road is a little bit steeper. I think we'll see a few more people in the two older age groups in the men now starting to use these new lines.
In terms of the Belgian squad here, can they work together like this if they're packing enough riders in the front of the race in a cyclocross event at under 23 level? Do tactics start to come into play? They
do, especially when you've got this many of them. 4 or 5 Belgians in the front, you can definitely use that to your advantage. The difficulty is whether they want to. They all want to be world champion. It's not a team sport. We saw for years and years that the Belgian elite men couldn't ride as a team and kept getting beaten. And it was only when they actually all agreed, and I think it was Sven Nys that actually sat them down and said, right, we need to work for Niels Albert here in Hoogerheide a few years ago. We can work as a team. We've got to win this race. We've been beaten the last few years. In under 23 racing, you know, it's whether you can get that cohesion within the team to make it work. But we'll see soon enough, I think.
Now, the danger for
the other thing probably to mention, sorry to butt in, is actually that 2 of them are teammates on the same professional team as well. Telenet Fideo with Isabit and Hermans, for sure they'll look after each other. Whether they will help out somebody from a rival trade team, not so sure.
Yeah, there's all these little added additions that you've just got to pick out. And if you do notice, if you look at the helmets of the riders, if you're just trying to pick out any teammates, then you will see the Telenet Fidea helmets of Isabit and his teammate who's sitting there in second wheel. Just pick out the kind of yellow, turquoise and black of that Telenet Fidea squad. Isabit struggling up here.
Yeah, I had a good look at this climb earlier today, actually, and it's on the 2 trees that you can see on there. The riding line is to the right. It drops down a little bit, which gives you a little bit of an impetus to ride the second half of it. The rider's left, right-hand side as we're looking at it, is the line if you're going to jump off and run it. But the ruts coming down off this, they kind of took the top off the ruts and filled them in a little bit just to make it a little bit easier.
Now, I don't know why, but that climb, that descent off the top there, we haven't really had a good camera shot of it until now, but you can see just how dicey it is and the speed that the riders are coming down. It's pretty impressive. So we're seeing still these 3 riders at the front. Now, without touching too much on yesterday and what happened, there is a danger here that the Belgians can be a little bit fired up by the news yesterday and want to go out and show the world just how good they are, and that can play 2 ways. They can either go out far too hard and blow up and everyone else profits, or they are so adrenaline-fueled and ready for racing that they're just going to rip this race apart. Yeah, I think they're adrenaline-fueled, wanting to be world champion. I don't think what happened yesterday is on even in the slightest bit of their minds right now. I think it was something that happened yesterday. They wake up this morning, they don't give any credence to that at all. It's all about the bike race today. Good. Right, 8:15 was the opening lap. We're at the end of lap 1 as we see this group of riders come together now. And it's the Italian rider Bertolini now who goes to the front. He wants to be able to take his own line through these little bends. Clement Russo is up there. 4 Belgians and the Spanish rider Felipe Orts. I was criticised yesterday for not mentioning Spanish enough. But now they're at the front, we can mention. We can do it. So we'll mention Felipe Orts, who's up here towards the front of the race. So Bertolini is a good rider, isn't he? He's won Valkenburg. He was second in Namur. We know how tough Namur is with that climb from the start up to the Citadel at the top of the hill. And he's 6th in the World Cup. So he's a strong rider and certainly to be watched. He's strong. I don't think he's using his head quite rightly at the moment. I wouldn't be sitting on the front with 4 Belgians behind me because it's just lining yourself up to be, you know, attacked and then keep jumping over him, and doesn't make a lot of sense. You've got four Belgians there, just use them, just sit behind, just follow, see who's strong, see what's happening, see how the course changes, and then give it a couple of laps. And if you're still feeling good, then take it on. But a little bit too early, I think. Trying to work out how many laps we are going to see. It looks like 6 remaining laps, or 5. 5 remaining, I think, 6-lap race. Yeah. So 5 laps remaining in the race. The opening lap then was 23.67 kilometers an hour, by far the fastest lap start we have seen in any of the races. Not to be surprised, but that is pretty rapid around here, nearly 24 kilometers an hour.
It is, yeah, definitely faster than yesterday's lap times. Again, obviously a slightly faster race, but faster age group. But it's certainly a faster course than we saw yesterday in all that rain.
Yeah, it certainly is. This is the group then with Andreasen, and also in this group is Logan Owen. He is trying to make his way across. They're not too far away, are they? They're starting to come back, and things are settling down. A problem here for French rider, and that looks like it is Jan Grass of France, who's got a bike problem. Looks like he had a bit of a tumble into the barriers or something there, but yep, you're right. The passionate Italian at the front is trying to dish out the pain to the rest of the Belgians. And also was held up in the crash is Max Lindenau, so he is left at the side of the track. It's incredible, isn't it, the size of the crowd that you get on Sunday at the World Championships. Everyone comes in.
It's huge, absolutely huge. I think they were talking, you said yesterday, 70, 80,000 people. Certainly weren't that numbers yesterday, but a few people wait till Sunday and watch it on TV on Saturday, and the weather, I'm sure, put a few people off that hadn't got weekend tickets and were locals. But we don't know what happened here, but it's obviously a bit of a tangle.
Still trying to get the chain sorted out. It's absolutely jammed, so he's going to put the bike onto the shoulder.
He's got no saddle.
That'll be why then.
Well, that won't help.
Oops, crash there for one rider. And one of the Belgian riders left at the side. I'm not sure that was T-Serts, was it? Who was left in there as he led round that corner. Ooh. It is T-Serts who...
T-Serts, yeah.
Had that crash. We look at some of the crashes that we've seen, and you've mentioned that overnight they've tried to take the top off some of the ruts and things like that. But in cyclocross, if you get caught in a rut, you're in big trouble.
Well, no, you ride the ruts. You know, you kind of commit to a rut. A rut normally means it's really soft on both sides of the rut, so the rut is the smoothest place. It's when they get to a certain depth that then it can tip you off balance, because it's, you know, it is actually the sides of the rut are holding onto your wheel. But the sides, there's one particular corner that we'll come across a little bit later, and I'll try and point it out. There's a huge rut round a corner. Both sides of it, it's ankle deep in mud. So if you don't ride the rut, then you've got nowhere to go. You've got to jump off and run through the mud. Yeah, ruts, again, depending on the mud, if it's stiff mud like we saw last week in Heusden-Zolder, it kind of, you've got no control over it. It flicks you out, and you know, riders come out in different directions. When it's quite soft, you know, you can ride the rut. The edges will break away slightly if you make a mistake. Again, this is the corner where Nicky Harris had a problem yesterday. And it's the same thing. There's two really, really deep ruts on that climb. It's a little vertical bank. It's only a couple of meters high, but the ruts are so deep in that, and they haven't done any work on any of the climbs or the banks going up. They've concentrated on the going down, because that's where more for a safety issue rather than you know, making the race a little bit easier. But on the ups, the ruts are still there, and that little bank where Harris fumbled yesterday, that's the one that just caught those guys out as well.
So I talked to Nikki about that little fumble yesterday, and she said it was almost like slow motion. She just didn't realise what was going on, and it just might be that it is the surface, it is how you approach it, and she just said she came to a standstill. That was it.
Yeah, she got to a stop, and the momentum was such, and her body was in such a position that she couldn't go forwards, and she couldn't actually get off.
Yeah.
And she just, you know, she was just stuck in one place, and you know, for us watching, it looked like an eternity. I'm sure for her it felt even longer, but it's just that momentum issue that everyone tries to overcome. Coming to a standstill is the worst case scenario, really.
Yeah, and then suddenly Sana Kant came back, and the whole race changed for Nicky Harris, but another great fifth place for her yesterday. This rider is producing a great performance, isn't he? Dan Sort, third in Coxsider. He's not very high placed.
Spaniard chasing him, which is impressive.
That was a bit of showboating for the crowd.
Tail whip off the top of that, yeah.
Nice little bit of a jump there by the Spanish rider. Very impressive. That's the first jump that we've seen. He looked to be enjoying that. You have to land that one perfectly. That could have gone wrong. Here we go. There's the replay. Takes a little bit of a jump. Downhill. That's about, what, do you think 22 to 25% gradient down there?
No, it's way steeper.
Yeah?
Way steeper. This climb here is probably over 50%. I mean, if you put your hand in front of you, you can touch the sand. It's that steep. It's like climbing stairs.
Yesterday, when I went, I was trying to walk up that gradient he's just jumped. I found it pretty steep.
Yeah.
It's, if you came here to these World Championships and walked some of these hills, you wouldn't believe just how tough it is. But it's great to see a Spanish rider up towards the front of this race and taking it on. Isabit is the rider in the turquoise on the right-hand side, wearing number 2. His teammate, Quinten Hermans, on the left, is riding this climb. You really do have to have some strength and some ability to be able to ride that climb.
So this is the corner with the huge rut in it. Sorry, it's just before, beg your pardon, it's just before. It's this one here that the riders you can see on now. And if they're not in it, it's really, really soft on both sides.
Isabit came to a little bit of grief there. And Orts goes safely through. So towards the front then, let's just run through them. Dan Sort is the leader, has that little advantage of about 6 seconds on Felipe Orts in the yellow and red, the Spanish rider. Isabit is in 4th place now. Up there are still the Frenchman Clement Rousseau. As we come back down to the end of the lap. Still a lot of riders in contention here. Yeah,
that group that was just behind with the 2 Americans and Andreasen, it just looked like they were coming back a little bit. When we get onto the road, we'll see better, and I think it'll be interesting to see what this group do now with Sout in front. If the Spaniard swings over now, we'll see what the reaction is of the Belgians. They won't chase Sout for sure.
4 laps of racing remaining in this under-23 World Cyclo-cross Championship. The lull in the little group behind. Now Rousseau decides he's got to take it on. He doesn't want the Belgians to close this one off. And Logan Owen now of the United States of America is trying to shut the gap. Andreasen looks like he's in a little bit of pressure. He's a world champion as a junior, as he looks to try and get someone to help him go across. But the Italian and the Frenchman have got to work together, because the Belgians do seem to be working well together as a team and closing things off a little bit as their teammate Dan Salt goes clear. Salt looks pretty comfortable up here on this this Ridley bike, as Bertolini tries to help out Rousseau.
We just saw Hermans there just dive inside Rousseau for that corner on the 180 left turn, and just slowing him down a little bit just to break up that chase with Bertolini.
So 4 laps of racing remain in this World Championship. Just to confirm for anyone who's been asking me on Twitter, how many laps have we got to go? So at Antmacross and at Simon Burney is the place where you can get in touch with us if you would like to. Let's just update on some other riders. Nicholas Smith is 52nd for the Australians. Isaac Niels is 53rd for the Canadians. Trevor O'Donnell for the Canadians, 48th right now. And in terms of other nations, Nick Barnes of Great Britain, 41st. For the top 10 riders, top maybe 12, 13 riders, still in with a shout of winning this title. And Logan Owen and Simon Andreasen are tantalisingly close to this front group. One more rider is there now, and that is the Dutch rider, Joris Norvenhuis, who will, of course, be motivated, I'm sure, by seeing Talita de Jong and Jens Dekker take those medals yesterday. Yeah, and
Nieuwenhuis was 5th last year in Tabor as well. So he's used to fighting at the front of the World Championships.
And, of course, he's won here in Zolder in the World Cup as well, so he's a rider who likes this course. There's some riders who really hate the Zolder course, it just doesn't do it for them. But Neuenhuis is a rider who has won here before, so he might use that knowledge, that expertise. This race is coming back together. They are so close to catching that big group of riders, which will put a lot of riders in with a chance of winning. But Dan Salt now is building his advantage. We've seen this before. 12 seconds now his advantage.
It's actually Sieben Wouters is the Dutch rider in that front group.
Yep, Sieben Wouters is there, and
Nieuwenhuis a couple of places behind him. Yeah, so the Dutch are getting back in the mix. Kind of missed that group on the first lap.
Your pulse rate right now as a rider is absolutely sky high. You're flat out. And how does a cyclocross rider find any place to recover on a course?
Well, like we saw on the finishing straight there, you know, it's that if you're in a group, you can kind of sit in the wheels and just kind of take a breath. Apart from that, on this course, there's only a couple of places. The section from the last steep drop before we get to the real steep sandbank is probably one of the few sections. The rest of it, you're full gas the whole time.
Because we talk about road riders, and we've heard them talk about having micro recovery, so they can just get a little bit of recovery into the legs, that odd little freewheel, that downhill section. But here you're concentrating so much, aren't you? Because you don't concentrate on one of these descents and you're going to come off.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going into the red and being able to be technically sound at max. Bertolini there just looking back, but the Belgian shaking his head. He's not going to come through and help. So it's down to the Frenchman and the Italian here to try to bring Sota back.
And if Heusden-Wouters can do anything to assist, then that will help and aid to try and bring this race back together. The Spanish rider looks like he's starting to suffer a bit. That head is going left and right, but he's going into the pits. Maybe looking for a quick bike change and get back out to the race as quick as possible.
The only reason I would think would be going to the pits now would to get a different tyre choice. If he's sliding around a little bit too much, he might just want to go into get a bike with a heavier tread on.
In the pits, then, the riders will have different combinations of tyres on different bikes now and then, just in case the rain falls, or
they will, and it'll be something they'll have discussed with the mechanics before. And it's kind of, you know, what if scenarios. Okay, if I come in, you know, the chances are they're not going to come in to get bikes clean necessarily. It's not right now, from what we can see, it's not looking too sticky. It might be filling tyre treads up a little bit on certain tread patterns, which might mean that every 2 or 3 laps to go in just to get a clean bike with fresh treads. Apart from that, it will be to go in and get, usually a bike with a different wheel combination, different tyre combination.
This gap's coming down. Dan Sota, I think, might be suffering a little bit out on this course. His gap has dropped by 5 seconds. It's down to 7. And the work here being done by number 13, Heusden-Wouters, and the Italian. They seem to have managed to get the Italian, the Dutch and the French rider in front of the Belgians, which is where they needed to be to try and bring this race back together. Thanks to the Danish Cycling Union for reminding me that Simon Andreasen is the 2016 national champion of Denmark, which we haven't mentioned yet, as Dan Sota goes flying downhill right on the limit of that turn.
Can use the airbag for a bit of a body check, slide around it.
Yeah, why not?
No, I think it's been good. It's been good for the Italian there to get the help from the Dutch rider. I think the Dutch just missed out getting in that group early on. It took them that lap to make the front group. But now with Wouters there, it's given Bertolini the impetus to get back up to Sota here. So it's coming back together, and should normally see now another Belgian taking off.
That's Jan Grass, who had that crash earlier on. A bitterly disappointed French rider in tears there as he goes into the pits. That's how much it means. And last night in our hotel, the French were there. Caroline Marnie was walking around with her silver medal. The young French guys had their silver and bronze, and that motivates a team. It means that they wake up dreaming of coming back to the hotel to celebrate the way they did last night.
Sure, absolutely. It's all good for morale, and they know it's possible from a teammate. All good. Right now, these Belgians looking like they're massing at the front again.
Yep.
Italian and the French just dropped back a bit, and they just need to be attentive. It's actually the Dutch rider which is taken away, and Bertolini just crashed, I think, there on the exit of that drop.
It's getting wet again here at the top of this drop-off. Bertolini's been one of the riders who's been animating this race so far. As we see now, the attack starting to happen again, and rather than wait for the Belgians to mass at the front, number 13 there, Heusden-Wouters, has done what his teammates did yesterday. Jens Dekker and Talita de Jong. Just seeing where the crash happened.
Yes, Rousseau just went off his line and just took the front wheel of Bertolini away there.
Yeah, Bertolini left on the deck. The end of another lap then. This is the end of 3 laps. 3 laps of racing to go. 25 minutes and 30 seconds go by. And Sieben Wouters is the leader with an 8:19, the second fastest lap so far. And gaps opening all over the place here. Andreasen a long way back here with Logan Owen. These two riders under pressure, and Andreasen doesn't look to have the speed in those legs that would be required to be back up there at the front of the race.
No, that's game over for him today as far as the podium goes. But
now,
great rider, Andreasen. We're going to see a lot of him in the years to come. Very, very talented mountain biker, good cross rider. Just as a very small cross season, been spending a lot of time in Gran Canaria training. Came back for the Namur World Cup. Cleared off back there in January.
a lot going on here in this race, and it's not over for any of these riders yet. A good question for development, because we've seen yesterday, we can remember a few years ago, the British team, you know, haven't won a medal until we saw Helen Wyman take a bronze, and Roger Hammond was the last gold medalist in 1992. And a few questions about emerging nations like Australia and other countries who've got small teams here. How do they improve? How do they get to this level?
For a country like Australia, they need to immerse themselves in Northern Europe, basically. It's going to be very difficult for them to be competitive from the Southern Hemisphere. They need to be over here. And the Americans, it's the same situation, really. They come over, the Americans come over for a big chunk of time in December. Same thing for the Australians, Japanese, you know, those kind of nations. They need to be here racing as much as they can. And obviously it's a long way to come. If you're going to come for a long time. But that shows it's still slippery.
Mistake by the leader.
And his chain's off as well, I think. No, got it back on.
That's going to hurt after that slide. It is very slidey out here. Oh, he almost righted it. Leading the race and hits the deck, and that's going to lose him all his momentum. And we saw this yesterday with Nikki Harris. She didn't hit the deck, but she came to a standstill. She said she never got going again because it shakes you. And it's cold out here as well, isn't it? 4 degrees, you hit the deck, your body goes in a little bit of shock.
Yeah, he just needs to regroup now, but I think the Belgians will take the advantage now just to put the pressure on him a little bit, just while he's still a bit ruffled. But just needs to compose himself.
Yep, just get that composure back, just get the lines going again, just make sure you feel comfortable, just sit there and wait, and then when you've recovered, then you go back on the attack. The Spanish rider's starting to recover again after that initial attack. So is Bertolini, the Italian. Still loads of riders in with a chance of winning this. Martin Budding is now the other Dutch rider who's at the back of the group as we see the attack, and no surprise that one of the Belgians would try and profit from that drop there. Quinten Hermans, winner in Holger Heide just a week ago, second in Linear. Top performer in the World Cup is now trying to make a move and going clear, and it's down to the rider who's just hit the deck to try and shut the gap, and there's no one really strong enough to go up and help him right now.
And you can have a crash like that, and it might not hurt, it might not ruffle you mentally, but it can just, you know, maybe move your handlebars, maybe just knock a shifter lever in, just puts you off your stride a little bit. And the problem he's got is he's not been able to relax too much because he's got 2 Belgians behind him that aren't going to help. They're not going to come round him and start to chase their teammate. No. I think we can see now that the Belgians, maybe they're not riding for each other, but they're certainly not riding against each other. And there's a subtle difference, I think, in that. And yeah, they don't want to actively be seen to bring somebody back from their own country.
No, particularly in their home World Championships, they want to make sure they bring this medal home. Number 12 there, just going through the picture, Martin Budding, still the lone leader now. The first Polish rider, for those asking me on Twitter, is Bartosz Mikla in 36th place, and sorry, Mikla is in 36th. Bogalowski is in 30th place right now. Lots of nations represented, 21 nations taken to the start, 55 riders. Those of you just joining us now, this is the World Cyclo-cross Championships from Heusden-Zolder in Belgium. This is the under-23 race. The men's elite race is coming up later on today. Down the bottom of the screen then you can see how riders are moving up, moving down in terms of performance. One rider we haven't mentioned is the rider from the Czech Republic, Adam Tupelik. Very strong rider indeed, and he's just sitting in the group doing nothing and making sure he just stays in the race, but he's not taking it on like any of the other nations.
Yeah, we noticed Tupelik, I think, the first time on the icy course in Tabor, and as a junior, I think, a few years ago. Yeah. Very talented. He's kind of slid his way into this front group, like you say, without us really noticing him, but not to be discounted. And I think it would be good for the Dutchman there to get some help from Tupelik, who's actually coming back up, because I don't think Budding is going to bring it back on his own.
There's 10 riders in this group of riders, as we see the rider who crashed, number 13, Steven Wouters, just adjusting his shoes, just making sure they're okay after that crash. Our lone leader is Quinten Hermans as he goes down onto the tarmac. So the front group is Hermans of Belgium, Wouters of the Netherlands, Tissarts of Belgium, Bertolini of Italy, Clement Rousseau of France, Felipe Orts of Spain. Isabit is still there, and he's involved in the action. And Martin Budding, and also the rider we mentioned, Tupelik. That's our lead group. Isabit's interested. He's one of the only riders I notice who looks at his watch all the time during a race. And I think it's his pulse rate. He keeps a really close eye on it. I watched him do that a couple of weeks ago in one of the World Cups. And he'll wipe the face of it as well to keep an eye as what's going on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tupelik's kind of getting across to Sota here.
Tupelik's riding strongly. He looked very good up that climb then. Here's a bit over there on the right-hand side through the little sandy area. And Felipe Orts in with a chance here of giving Spain a medal in this World Championship.
Sorry, I said Soto and I meant Hermans. Obviously Hermans at the front, but Tupelik not too many lengths off him right now.
The top of this climb is pretty tough, isn't it? Because you get back on and it goes slightly uphill and quite hard to keep your momentum before you drop down and then come back up this next climb. Yeah,
it's a little technical section, that one. We saw the riders there. It's not rideable anymore. They're just riding into the rut and hopping off.
So it's Hermans of Belgium who leads, and it's Tupelik of the Czech Republic who is the rider who's trying to get across to him now. So keep an eye on these riders. Just check how they are riding. Just watch their lines. So impressive the way that they are able to ride so quickly around a muddy, wet, tough course here in Heusden-Zolder. Changing surface all the time, from sand to mud to a little bit of tarmac to felt-covered bridge. You've got to be technically so competent, so good to be able to ride at this sort of speed. And we are seeing a very, very close race coming round now with 2 laps of racing remaining. And it's Hermans and Tupelik who are at the front, being chased down by the rider who crashed a little while ago, wearing number 13, Steven Wouters. 2 laps of racing to go, 34 minutes. And that was another 8:32 lap. Getting a few extra seconds added on the graphics, but 8:32 was on my my readout, as we see these 2 riders going clear now. And it's a good combination for... because the Belgian riders will be happy that Hermans has gone clear, and Tupelik is a good asset to have in this little group.
Well, I think the Belgians will be disappointed that Tupelik's gone across without another one of them following it.
Saman Andreasen is a little bit further back. He looks around to see where Logan Owen is. And they're a long, long way back now. And it's Nieuwenhuis, who was probably the favourite of the Dutch riders, who's not having a day to remember in this under-23 championship. Number 12 there at the front, Martin Budding, is the other Dutch rider who's trying now to close the gap on the leaders. The gap is now 7 seconds, so it's still possible to bring this back.
Isabit should have been going across with Tupelik to this front group, really, in the ideal world. Obviously, I think he was feeling it at the back of that group and that hard section just before they dropped down onto the finish straight. The Belgians were sitting back a little bit in that group. There was Tupelik, the Italian, the Frenchman, all in front of them, and just let the gap open up a little bit. Gave Tupelik the opportunity to go across without another Belgian with him, and now it's actually quite a dangerous situation for the Belgians.
Yeah, they're in a... because Tupelik, to me, looks like he's... the way he went up that little rise, he's got good legs today. He certainly was moving very quick, running well, and now the Dutch rider trying to close the gap on the rest of the riders. So Dan Sort has got the fastest lap so far. Lap number 1, 8:15, the opening lap. Dan Hooiberg's also a fast lap of 8:16. The average speed of that fastest lap, 23.67 kilometers an hour, to give you a bit of an indication of just how fast these riders are travelling. Here's a replay. Oh, another slide.
Yeah, Budding then just sliding again onto the tarmac.
Is that because they've decided the wrong tyre combination? Because we've seen 2 Dutch riders sliding when they go down to the bottom of that descent.
Well, you don't pick your tyre choice based on wet tarmac. It's the rest of the course, and obviously if there's a tyre that's suitable for some of the other sections and it's slippery on the tarmac, then it's a price you pay. But
you've got to make...
it's just slippery. You know, they're taking mud and water down onto tarmac, shiny tarmac with them, and you know, motor racing circuits, the quality of the tarmac is so good, it's so smooth and shiny, and I'm sure there's a lot of rubber in the tarmac as well from all the cars that race around it. So a little bit of wet, rubberized, shiny tarmac isn't there's no tyre that's going to grip on that.
It probably is the best tarmac surface you'll get in most places in the world. 2 riders at the front then. Thanks for joining us for the World Cyclo-cross Championships. This is the under-23 race. Still about 10 riders, maybe, 10 riders, I would say, in with a shout of winning this title. They're Quinten Hermans, Adam Tupelik, Isabit of Belgium, Bertolini of Italy, Aerts of Belgium, Rousseau of France, Wouters of the Netherlands, Orts of Spain, and Sort of Belgium. That's the combination. As we see now, Isabit has made it across to the leaders. Well, Simon predicted he needed to be there. And now Eli Isabit has finally made the move. This is the rider who's dominated the World Cup this season. He won the World Cup, he won Namur, he won Linear, he won Coxsider. He was second in Valkenburg, and finally he makes the move to get across to the leaders. A good move for Belgium now.
Yeah, and you called it earlier, Anthony, that he comes to the front of the race a little bit later on. He lets the excitement of the first couple of laps die down, and yeah, I wasn't aware of him doing the watch check, but I'm sure he's riding to a plan, and yeah, it's a good move now. And I'm sure Rudy de Bie will be a lot happier with 2 Belgians in the front than just one taking on Tupelik, because Tupelik's realised that Isabit's coming across, putting the pressure on a little bit to try and make life a little bit more difficult for him.
Yeah, it's a good move here by Tupelik, isn't it? He's still got the sense to look around, see what's going on, and now he's trying to put the 2 Belgians into some difficulty, and he doesn't want the Dutch rider also to close the gap to make Bertolini and him another formidable combination to bring him back. Isabit's having to do all the work, having been the rider, to close the gap initially.
Yeah, Tupelik just looked round there just on that straight just to get a feel for what damage he was doing, but it's Isabit that's taking it up, obviously looking the stronger one of the 2 Belgians.
Quinten
right
Hermans goes across the top here. There you go. Takes a good line there to make sure. He was struggling a little bit, but he took the high line that Simon's outlined as the best line you can take to just try and stay in this front group. Isabit, though, gives it some power over the top of this climb. He's got that rocking style. He just hauls his bike, a little bit like Sana Kant did yesterday. There he goes. He looks at the watch again. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he just rides to pulse rate.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's funny, and if he gets mud on it, he doesn't like it at all. He'll wipe it constantly to make sure he can keep an eye on what's going on. So, interesting the way he's riding. Tupolev, though, still has the advantage. It's only a slender couple of seconds, but it's still enough to be putting riders under pressure. But he seems to have this course absolutely nailed. The Czech riders have got such a rich history of good cyclo-cross performances. Zdeněk Štýbar, who I saw tweet yesterday he wished he was here. He wanted to be riding the World Cyclo-cross Championships.
I wish he was here too. I think a lot of people wish he was here. It's good to see Lars Boom here actually this afternoon. That's another good addition. But yeah, it would be good to see Štýbar here.
It would be. Just remember this afternoon, don't miss this afternoon's World Championship Men's Elite race. It's the final World Championship of the legend that is Sven Nys. He is riding his final world title this afternoon, and there's going to be, I think there's going to be quite a lot of emotion. There's going to be fans, I think you'll see, in tears at the thought of him finishing. He has been such an incredible legend of this sport. Tupolev still with the advantage. He is a bit really kicking his way up this rise to just try and get back to the front. Simon, one thing I haven't asked you about shoes. They do have some little studs on them sometimes.
Yeah, they've all got removable. Well, they've got two threaded holes in the front of them. You can kind of replace studs or spikes depending on the ground conditions. So now there's a market for different lengths and different materials. You can get rubber ones if you've got to jump off to run up concrete steps, as an example. If you've got spikes, if it's a little bit icy, or a hard ground condition that you need to actually to penetrate the surface to run on. So yeah, on a course like this, a stud isn't really required. The sand that they're running up is the only time they're really on the feet significantly, and there's no benefit there from studs. It's sand doesn't make any difference. Yeah. So they'll just be on just a relatively low stud, because a big stud can, when you're jumping back on, can kind of, occasionally you'll just clip it on the pedal and it'll just, maybe you need a couple of attempts to clip back in with a big stud. But
here we go, one lap of racing to go, and Tupolev is sprinting flat out now to try and keep these Belgians at bay. Oh
no,
he thinks he's won.
No,
it's one lap to go. It's one lap of racing to go. No, he hasn't heard it. It's one lap of racing to go, and he thinks he's won the world title. I can't believe this.
And he still hasn't realised. Oh my goodness.
It's one lap to go, and he hasn't realised that the title hasn't been won.
Oh, what?
I just can't believe that has happened. I wondered why he was sprinting so hard.
I thought he was just trying to stay away from the Belgians and not take them into the last lap with him, but that is disastrous for him.
I just can't believe it. I'm gutted for this rider. The bell is so loud, and maybe he heard a bell on the previous lap. I don't know. I mean, there are so many cowbells around this circuit. That's what cyclocross is. Now he's just got to get his mind back. He's got to try and pull himself together. The Czech coaches on the left-hand side are urging him on and just trying to get him back to this race. Izabit is kicking on at the front. Bertolini is there. What amazing drama in this under-23 race. Simon, can he pull himself back together?
Well, if he can. Oh, Bertolini, over the top on the bridge.
Bertolini hits the bottom of the bridge. Tupolev has just got to get himself back together. He thought he'd won the world title.
Oh, I don't know what happened there. There must have been a lip onto the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, it's very smooth, isn't it?
There is a lip, but we don't know what's happened to the material that's between the ground and the beginning of the bridge. It's just a few centimetres, but if it's moved or got a hole in it. So now we've got the two non-Belgians trying to get back at the front of the race, but Izabit's going to take this on now.
Well, what drama in this under-23 race. Tupolev is somehow pulling himself back together. He is getting back to the front of this race.
That's incredible. If he can still take this on, fair play to him, because I can't imagine what's going through your head when you think you've won and suddenly you realise there's a lap to go.
No, exactly. He's got himself back.
Well, that is That is impressive.
Well, I think around the world, anyone who's watching this right now will be urging this Czech rider on. He thought he'd won it. That will be replayed forever as what happened next in this World Championship. But let's see if he can get himself onto the wheel of these Belgians. So who's going to win? At Macross and at Simon Burney, give us your predictions. Who is going to win this World Championship? Isabit is wearing number 2. Number 3 is Quinten Hermans, who has led as well. And Tupelik, who thought he'd won the World Championship. Bertolini's making all sorts of mistakes on this final lap. You can hear the Belgian crowd are going wild here. They can sense the chance of the Belgians taking this world title. Now, Simon, if you were Tupelik, what would you do here?
Well, I'd just try to get back up. I'd be exactly where I am and I'd just stay there. And then I'd try and figure out, he's been really strong on that last climb, Tupelik. He's been able to ride it when Isabit and Heubergs, is it?
Hermans is there with him
Sorry,
now.
beg your pardon, Hermans.
3.
Yeah. A bit having to run it.
So he's still...
But he's lost a little bit of time on that. Where's he? Oh, he's in the trees. Sorry, I thought I'd lost him.
Yeah, I thought something else had happened to him then. Nothing more can happen to him, surely. Isabit, though, he's going to kick it up this little climb. He's got so much power, a punchy little rider. He wants the world title to go with the World Cup win. Now they are riding really quickly down off this felt surface onto the tarmac. Tupelik composing himself. And he's got to have the mental strength and wherewithal now to pull himself back together and to try and win this title. He had done everything right. He'd gone on the attack, but it was one lap too early. Clement Rousseau is there now. Isabit kicks his way out that little chicane area onto the tarmac with Hermans on his wheel. Tupelik, we know, has got a good sprint. You could see that on the final lap, but how much did it take out of the legs? Everyone is shouting at this Czech rider because I think the whole public want him to try and win. And now he's going to try and attack them.
And this is where he needs to get on the front to try and take control of the race going into the last section. I think he knows that's where he's stronger.
Kicks his way over that little rise.
They may come tough in the Czech Republic.
God, they do. Well, I mean, it took him so long to realise that the lap wasn't the last lap. I thought he was almost pulling over to celebrate. Luckily, he didn't get off the bike. He didn't peel off to the deviation area. And he just carried on. Now is the moment. Onto this rise as he sprints his way up at Isabit's third wheel. Hermans goes with the move of Tupelik, the Czech Republic rider, who is the leader here as he goes now up this next little hill, and he is putting the pressure onto the Belgian riders, and he's now trying to go clear with a big attack, and Isabit's got to try and go with him. What a big attack here by Tupelik.
Isabit just reminds me, if any mountain bikers out there, it's Matthias Fluckinger. It's exactly the same body language.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Isabit's closed the gap. I'm not quite sure if Hermans is still a few lengths off. He is.
Well, Tupelik's done right here. He's got rid of one Belgian rider. Now he's got to try and outwit the rider who's been the dominant force in under 23 World Cups this season. Hermans trying to hold on here to get a medal. Tupelik, oh, the book of that. The wheel was all over the place. Safely onto the tarmac. Isabit trying to stay with him. Tucked in on the wheel. Is Tupelik doing too much work?
No, he's not. He's doing exactly the right thing. He needs to be at the front on this last climb. This is where he's stronger. And he knows it. And he needed to be in the front exactly where he made the move. If he's going to win it, it'll be either on this climb or he'll take it to a sprint, but he's doing the right thing.
I don't know about any of you out there, but right now my heart's racing for this kid. What
You're looking
a race.
at your heart rate monitor as well.
Yeah, my heart rate monitor's off the scale. It's too much. Isabit makes a little bit of a mistake there. Tupelik now gets to the hill and sprints his way up that little right-hand side. Isabit slips a little bit. Behind him, Hermans just trying to get some sort of footage. Tupelik still looks composed now. He looks like he's got himself back together. Onto the next little section. He rights himself onto the bike. Isabit stayed with him, and he's trying to get onto the side of him. But now this is the important bit.
Yeah, if he can ride this, you can see the pressure on Isabit trying to run faster. It's so hard to run. It's slippery. It's steep. But Tupelik didn't gain any advantage there, but he's still in the front.
There's some riders coming back as well. There's riders coming back towards these three at the front. Tupolev is still the leader for the Czech Republic. What a race. Isabit in second place. In third place is Hermans. You'll see the other riders just come round the corner now. So if anyone makes a mistake, then there could be a bronze medal up for grabs for one rider in that group. Tupolev makes a mistake. Isabit has the foot out as well as they slide their way around the corner. This is going to be an incredible finish. Another Belgian rider comes round the corner to try and go for the bronze medal. Now onto the drop off, the descent. Tupolev safely round there. Isabit on the wheel. The crowd are going absolutely nuts.
It's going to be a two-rider sprint, I think, this one. Hermans is just off the pace.
Get yourselves ready now. We're going down the bridge. We're going to turn right. Isabit and Tupolev. Is Tupolev going to win this world title? He thought he'd won it before. He opens up the sprint now. Isabit's going with him. They are sliding all over the place. Isabit's now trying to challenge. Tupolev is trying to drive to the finish line. They look across. Isabit is going to be the world champion. Belgium goes wild. Tupolev's disappointed. Eli Isabit is the world champion. Tupolev takes the silver medal, and now Belgium celebrate.
Wow, that was some race.
Wow. What drama. Isabit takes the gold, Tupolev takes the silver, Hermans takes the bronze. This is what it means. Wow, what a race. Bike racing doesn't get much better than that, does it?
Hans van Kasteren there. The boss of Telenet Fidea, the outgoing boss, being replaced by Sven Nys, who's bought the team off him. He's going into retirement in Mallorca, but Isabit rode that superbly. Tupolev, well, what can you say? He won it once, almost won it a second time.
He almost did. I thought he was getting the sprint, but Isabit wanted it so much. Isabit takes the title, Tupolev takes the silver, Hermans of Belgium takes the bronze, Tissarts takes the fourth place, Clement Rousseau of France is fifth, Felipe Orts of Spain is sixth place. Behind them, Bertolini, Budding of the Netherlands, Wouters of the Netherlands, Sort of Belgium, Andreasen will finish 12th. Logan Owen of the United States is around about 13th place. And the rest of the riders are just coming in. How do you summarize a race like that?
With difficulty, yeah. No, that was special. We thought that the women's race yesterday was going to be a hard one to match, but I think the under-23 men just came very close.
So the riders just riding in now. Everyone's sprinting for the places. All important. You want to say that you finished top 20 in the World Championships. That was the German rider Felix Drum just finishing with Lucas Dubau of France. Curtis White of the United States of America has finished in 18th place. Here we are with the sprint then, Simon. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah, I think Tupolev did everything right. I think he rode, apart from the mistake with a lap to go, I think he rode the last half of the lap perfectly. I think he did the right thing leading out the sprint, but Isabit was just that tiny little bit stronger. But, yeah, great sprint, great race, and I think a very worthy winner. He's been the man of the under-23 season in the World Cups, and yeah, he'll wear the stripes with pride next year, I think.
He certainly will. He was the winner of the World Cup. He won Namur, he won Liniers, he won Coxsider. He was second in Valkenburg. He so deserves it. He has ridden an exemplary season. And that started the afternoon for the Belgians very, very nicely indeed.
But Tupolev to come back from that error I think that showed real strength as well. So I think, yeah, fair play to him. He messed it up big time, but yeah, he deserves a silver medal.
Strength of character, strength of mind. I mean, also at the end of that race, when you've given it everything and you think you've won, you've got nothing left, and how he still managed to hold on to take the silver just shows the strength of that young rider. Here's the result. Elisabeth wins in 51 minutes 18 seconds. Tupelik takes the silver, 1 second down. Quinten Hermans of Belgium will be the bronze medalist. There's the makeup of the top 10, with Bertolini made a few mistakes towards the end of the race. Simon Andreasen, former junior world champion, in 12th. Logan Owen of the United States in 13th. And also Curtis White of the United States in there. Johan Jacobs of Switzerland in that top 20. Here's the rundown of the top 30, which includes Timon Rugg of Switzerland there in 21st place. Still riders coming in. I think Nick Barnes of Great Britain has just finished in 38th place. And Chris Aitken of Australia is in 42nd at the moment. Nick Smith of Australia is in 45th. Well, this afternoon we're going to say goodbye to Sven Nys in his final World Championship. That's the future of Belgian cycling with Elisabeth. Here is, I can imagine, a very emotional Adam Tupelik after that race. Well, let's take a look at the highlights of the most dramatic under-23 world title I think we've ever seen. The riders powering off the start line. It was the American rider Curtis White who led. A few riders having a few problems in that first corner. First rider to really animate things was Dan Sult of Belgium, who went out into the lead. Bertolini was also in close quarters. Then we saw Sieben Wouters go on the attack for the Netherlands. He made a mistake. He crashed and he never really recovered from that. The Belgians always had many riders at the front of the race. Good to see Felipe Orts of Spain involved in the action. And for the first time we saw Adam Tupelik come forward to the front of the race. He made his move when he managed to climb well. Elisabeth sensed the danger and tried to race across to the two leaders. And then Tupelik tried to put the pressure on the Belgian squad, racing away to try and open up the advantage and put everyone on the back foot. This is where he really started to open up his advantage on that sandy run-up. Put Elisabeth under pressure. With 1 lap to go and the bell ringing, Tupelik celebrating a world title, but unfortunately the race wasn't over, and suddenly he realized that he had 1 lap left to race. Bertolini's race came to an end as far as the medals was concerned when he went over there on that bridge. Tupelik found the strength of character and the mental strength to fight his way back into the race. Downhill, Tupelik tried to take it to the Belgians, and in the sprint he led out, but it was a day for Elisabeth. Sometimes the dream comes true. Today he wakes up and he wins the World Championship.
Tupelik's got another opportunity next year. He's still got a year left in under 23. Elisabeth 2 more years. It'll be interesting to see actually if Elisabeth moves up to elite in the same way that we saw Van Aert and Van der Poel last year move up.
Yeah, because once they make that decision, that's it, isn't it?
It is. They can't move up and go back down. So, yeah, another opportunity for Tupelik. I'm sure he'll be grateful for that one.
It was a great sprint, though, between those two. I mean, look at Isabit. He's sprinting on the tops. Somehow he found enough to win. The crowd is massive here now, isn't it?
Starting to fill up, yeah. By 3 o'clock, I think we'll be at capacity.
Oh. If you've never been to the World Championships, you have to come. Spend all year learning to do carpentry, make yourself something to put on your shoulders, come along here, drink beer, eat frites, and have a good time. It's what it's all about. Well, we're waiting to hear now from the new world champion before we bring you the podium presentation.
A couple of interesting questions on Twitter from both actually from Henry Arvold. First one, Anthony, what's more popular in the... We'll catch up with him after the interview.
Yep, so we're going to hear now from the new world champion from Belgium, Ellie Isabit.
Ellie, congratulations. You took that win out of Tupalik after he raised his arms with 1 lap to go. How incredible it was.
Yeah, it was very incredible. At the beginning of the race, I was not that good. I was going behind the bunch, and I didn't think I could win now, but the last lap, I found my good legs again, so I believed in it, but I know I had to wait till the sprint because he was sprinting the lap before, so I knew he was not that good anymore, so it worked out perfectly.
Last year you were a silver medalist with the juniors. Today, rainbow jersey. It must have a very different flavor, especially with the scenario of this race.
Yeah, I can't believe it anyway, so last year it was a bit pity for me, but I think this year goes above all. So yeah, in the race I didn't believe in it because my feeling was not that good, but the last 2 laps I saw everyone lagging behind, so I kept my focus till the last lap, and yeah, I'm very happy with this win.
And you're offering the first title to Belgium. That must be a very special feeling as well.
Yeah, especially for Rudy de Bie. I think with all the work he does, we deserve the win. So it's just the greatest feeling in the world I have now.
Thank you very much, Ellie. Congratulations.
What a great interview with Ellie Isabit.
Yeah, it was nice. Nice moment for Rudy de Bie as well. I think Rudy de Bie's been the Belgian team manager for so long now, and I think he gets a lot of criticism when he doesn't win. I don't think people give him enough credit for when they do win, and it's such a dominant nation that he's been the man behind it for so long.
So Simon, let's before we go to the podium, turn our attention back to those couple of quick questions.
Oh yeah, the first one.
Oh, that's his mum there.
Very good. Yeah, the important question was in the commentary box, Anthony, do you prefer mayonnaise or ketchup with your frites?
Ketchup, sorry.
And the other one was the difference or the percentage of double rings and single rings out there, and it's an interesting one. I think it so much comes down to sponsor equipment. Obviously, Shimano more on the double rings, SRAM on the single rings. Isabit, I'm pretty sure Isabit was on a single there. Telenet Fidea on SRAM. But it tends to be, it's a pretty even mix, and they don't really change too much depending on there's Rudy de Bie, the man he just mentioned.
As his dad there congratulating him.
It takes something to get a smile out of Rudy de Bie as well, so that shows how happy he is.
Being congratulated there by Mark Bolan, who's the announcer just behind him, and Richard Fries and Mark now will announce the medals here in Heusden-Zolder for this World Championship. Quinten Hermans, Ellie Isabit smiling away, Tupalik behind.
Koen Manu there, the event organizer here. He's been the man behind the Heusden-Zolder World Cups for many years. Proud day for him to have a Belgian winner on one of his races.
Tupalik can't really look can he? He's just looking at the ground. Again, a comparison of emotions. We had that yesterday with Sanne Cant and Talita de Jong, and today we're going to have the same with Isabit and Tupelik behind him. I so feel for this rider right now.
Me too, but it's part and parcel of
yeah,
the top end of a bike race, knowing where you are in the race. And yeah, it was a mistake that it cost him, I think. I think that cost him the race. It's difficult to sprint twice.
Yeah.
The award ceremony of the 2016.
Here we are then with the presentation ceremony of the World Championship Cyclo-cross under 23s.
Huldigingsplechtigheid van het wereldkampioenschap veldrijden 2016 voor mannen beneden 23 jaar. La cérémonie protocolaire du champion du monde de cyclo-cross 2016 pour hommes de moins de 23 ans.
In third place and winner of the bronze medal.
Op de derde plaats en winnaar van de bronzen medaille uit België. À la troisième place, médaille de bronze et remportée par un coureur de la formation belge, Quinten Hermans.
Quinten Hermans, the silver medalist in the World Cup and the winner in Hurghada this year, takes the bronze medal in these World Championship under 23 race.
De bronzen en zilveren medailles zullen overhandigd worden door de heer Manuel Pelaes, lid van het directiecomité van de UCI. Les médailles de bronze et d'argent seront remis par monsieur Manuel Pelaes, membre du comité directeur de l'Union cycliste internationale.
In second place and winner of the silver medal.
Op de tweede plaats een winnaar van de zilveren medaille uit de République Tchèque. À la deuxième place, il remporte la médaille d'argent. Il est de la République tchèque, Adam Tupelik.
Adam Tupelik, the silver medalist for the Czech Republic. As Simon mentioned, he's got a chance to come back to the World Championship and right what happened today.
Champion and winner of the gold medal.
Op de eerste plaats, wereldkampioen en gouden medaillewinnaar. À la première place, champion du monde et remportant la médaille d'or, Isabit.
Eli Isabit is the world champion at under 23. On the day that Sven Nys says goodbye to World Championship, here's a possible successor of the future.
De regenboogtrui en de gouden medaille worden overhandigd door Dr. Mohamed Waghi Azam, ondervoorzitter van de internationale wielerunie.
He will get the jersey on.
Et la médaille d'or sont remis par le Dr. Mohamed Waghi Azam, vice-président de l'Union cycliste internationale.
A fantastic win. Eli Isabit pulls on the rainbow bands. World champion here in Belgium. And it can't get much better than that in front of a home crowd.
De tweede plaats worden overhandigd door Noémie Monnu namens het organisatiecomité WK Cyclo-cross.
So being presented with the flowers, and then we'll have the national anthem of Belgium.
Noémie Monnu de la part du comité d'organisation des championnats du monde de cyclo-cross Heusden-Zolder.
That's his grandma. All smiles, celebrating. What a great day.
De bloemen voor de winnaar van de ronde.
Very much a family tradition, Belgian cyclo-cross. We saw it with Kevin Powell's grandma always at the finish of races. It's always parents, grandparents, brothers and sisters helping out. It's a big part of family tradition.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we have your attention
Well,
now
proud moment
for the national
as we
anthem of
now have the
Belgium.
national anthem.
Dames en heren, uw aandacht voor het nationale volkslied van België. Mesdames, messieurs, votre attention pour l'hymne national belge.
Well, this race will go down in everyone's memories. Elizabeth is the world champion here in Heusden-Zolder. An incredible race. Simon, I don't think we'll forget this one for a long time.
We won't. And I think if that set the scene for this afternoon, then we're in for another great one. Because I think we've seen riders coming from a little bit further back after the first lap, and we've seen riders right away at the front, and I think, yeah, it's hard to make a call what's going to happen in a couple of hours' time. 3 o'clock in Belgian time.
Yeah, don't
Men's
forget.
elite race.
Yeah, 3 o'clock Central European time is the men's elite race. In the meantime, this young rider's going to enjoy the rainbow bands, the gold medal, and the party started. If the beer tents weren't busy, then they're going to be very, very busy indeed. Off to my left, I can just see Sven Nys warming up on the course. He's just gone up the hill as one of his countrymen walks down here with the rainbow bands. We're going to say goodbye to Sven Nys this afternoon from World Championships. And this young rider now will sign some rainbow jerseys, he'll take the photos, he'll do the press conferences, he'll do the antidope, and he'll do all the things a world champion has to do.
Thank you very much.
And then he can sit back and savour the victory. From Simon and I, thank you very much for watching. Elizabeth's the under-23 world title. Let's leave you with the highlights.